Hello, my name is Caity Gyorgy, and I am joined with Mark Limacher on the piano, and we are going to be playing some of the music that we have written together, starting with a song called Sight to Behold. And this will be on an album that we're creating. We're going to record it in April with an entire orchestra, but we brought the orchestra to you in the form of Mark, and hope you enjoy it. What a thrill it is to take off on a public plane. Sing goodbye to the town where I know every boulevard's name. An economical flight or two settle my plight of despair. But a terrible fright comes to greet me alone in the air. I could stumble down cobblestone streets in a lakeside locale, take incense from the blossoming jasmine along the canal, witness midday transactions take place in the small market square. But no sight is a sight to behold if you're simply not there. I could dine a la carte in the financial part of a town, window shop, store to store, till I finally favor a gown. Tour from tall city buildings to underground clubs neath the stairs. But no sight is a sight to behold, no wonders of new or of old. No sight is a sight to behold if you're simply not there. I could dine a la carte in the financial part of a town, window shop, store to store, till I finally favor a gown. Tour from tall city buildings to underground clubs neath the stairs. But no sight is a sight to behold, no wonders of new or of old. No sight is a sight to behold if you're simply not there. No sight is a sight to behold if you're simply not there.
Well, all right. Caity Gyorgy, Mark Limacher. Wow, what an incredible joy to have you here in CKUA's live performance space. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having us, Grant. It's wonderful to be here.
It's overwhelming. You play with such beauty and feeling and virtuosity. And you wrote this music too. Like, this is incredible. And we're hearing an advance preview of as yet unreleased Caity Gyorgy and Mark Limacher material. How amazing is that? I'd love to just ask you about that first song that you favored us with.
Of course.
Sight to Behold?
Yes, yeah.
Where does that one come from?
So we wrote this one together. I write all the lyrics with the music that we write together. And the lyrics for this one are kind of inspired by being able to travel for work so much. And so a lot of the lyrics in this one are inspired by Ajijic, Mexico, which is a place that I've been so fortunate to go to for the last couple of years. And I'll be going again in February, as will Mark. We are part of a really great festival down there called the Northern Lights Festival de Febrero. And so the songs about the lyrics about being on a cobblestone street in a lakeside locale is all about the cobblestone streets in Ahihik. They're impossible to walk on. I wear heels. It's a nightmare, but it's such a great place. And then there's a marketplace, and you can watch people like getting stuff from local sellers, or like getting drinks or guacamole and all this kind. It's great. And then the other half is sort of about New York. So like dine a la carte in the financial part of a town, a window shop store to stores till I finally favor a gown. You know, like me window shopping on Fifth Ave, very much window shopping. I'm not going into those stores, I promise you. And then touring from tall city buildings to underground clubs neath the stairs. You know, there's tall buildings, but usually I am underneath the ground in a jazz club in New
Literally some
York.
funky jazz cellar. That's what all the
Exactly.
best New York clubs are like.
And that's exactly what that one is.
Yeah.
You know, I'm lucky to be able to tour around so much, but sometimes like I travel a lot alone, and sometimes it's nice to be there with someone else. So
Like Mark Limacher, for instance.
like Mark Limacher.
Do we do things together?
Do we tour
Sometimes.
together?
Yeah.
And Mark, you're actually like a New Yorker too, right? I mean, I know you studied at the New School, didn't you?
Yes. They have to acknowledge that I went there, if that's what you. Yeah. I am Canadian by birth, so no one can.
Right. They can't take that away from me.
Yes.
Well, what was New York like? I mean, I can't even imagine. I'm the type of person that, you know, has just been there, just all agog with my mouth agape for the entire duration of my stay. Every time I go, I can't imagine what it'd be like to make your home and make your art there. What was that experience like?
Well, that period feels both long and long ago.
Right. Yeah.
But I would say it's probably the closest to having a sense of home that I've ever actually had in my life. But what is sort of fun to recall about living there was just the food, the friends and the family, and the also I would say access to art.
Yeah.
Not mine. At that point, I was working mostly as a waiter.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
And the time-honored New York
that's right.
tradition.
The time-honored.
Yeah.
That's right.
Quick-
Which means I was an artist, right? Is this correct? Yeah.
Quick food recommendation?
A lot of the places I know are closed. They're
Okay.
not there. And do you know that even in Midtown, all the classic delis are gone?
No.
Yeah, you can't eat there anymore. There's
Yeah,
nothing
Upper
to eat.
East Side. Go to Second
Yeah,
Ave.
but that's the Second Avenue Deli, which used to be a long time ago on Second Avenue. The owner was murdered. This is a true story, and they think maybe it was a hit, but that was like 2004-ish. Now they reopened. They have multiple locations. It's very
See,
exciting.
this is different from the Alberta scene that I'm used to.
Yeah.
These guys.
This isn't what you talk about on your station. Yeah.
So I'm curious to know the two of you. I mean, obviously, Caity, you're born and raised in Calgary. Mark, what brought you to Calgary, and what brought the two of you together?
Calgary was the city of my birth.
Oh, really?
It's just, I always joke it didn't take, and so
Failure to launch.
so it's currently where I live in exile. Yeah. No. It's a challenging, emotional place to live, and always has been. However, I would say what brought me back was work. So believe it or not, I was offered a job to play in a pit orchestra there in the theater almost 10 years ago. And I took that because my marriage was dissolving, or pending marriage. That makes it a lot easier to get out. And anyway, I took that, and then I went back, and I lived in Brooklyn. And then that was the summer that there was that big flood there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so a lot of the elderly people in the building I was living in told me I would have to declare asylum because I could not go back. There was nothing left. And unfortunately, I had to explain to them that's not how asylum works. But I got offered another one, and so I came back to do that. And then, let me see. I started playing with the Philharmonic. So I established a career there as a musician. And funny enough, during all of that time, though, we never met. We met
Really?
very recently.
Oh, wow.
2021,
You're
almost
kidding.
like to the day. Gig birthday was
That's right.
yesterday.
No way.
Gig birthday.
Gig birthday.
She
is-
reluctantly hired me. No one else was free, and
That's hilarious. No, the first time we worked together was at Buckingham Palace,
Oh.
Lisa Buck's incredible venue in Calgary. And Lisa had asked me in 2021, do you want to do one of these concerts? And I said, absolutely, I would love to. I had done a couple workshops during the pandemic, like online workshops for BJP, and I was thrilled to do those. But of course, doing a concert was wonderful. And as things started to open up a bit more, I was offered this concert. And she said, who do you want to work with? And I thought, well, I've always wanted to work with Mark. And truthfully, I don't think I'd ever heard you play before. But I went to a jazz jam.
Which is why I got the gig.
Yeah, you're funny. I went to a jazz jam pre-pandemic when I was probably, 19 or 20 or something. And I ended up sitting at a table with some friends, and Mark was at the table, and he was so funny and so interesting.
You're like, I
and
want
I'm
to work
this
with
is,
that guy.
This is the funniest person I've ever met in my life. I need to work with this person. So a few years
Wow.
later, I thought, okay, well, I'll do this with Mark. And then, we're rehearsing on, I guess it was December 11th, 2021 for our show. And I'm like, oh my God, like, this is insane. Like, instant click.
Yeah.
It turns out he's good.
Yeah,
As
like
well
he's
as
not only
funny.
hilarious, he can play the
He's
instrument.
pretty good.
So that this kind of worked out for me,
Wow.
I guess.
That's a
I'm
great
glad you think
story.
so.
And so we that first concert was recorded, and our first little EP of holiday music
Oh.
was recorded from that first
No
night that we ever
way.
played together.
Wow.
And I thought it turned out pretty well, and did pretty well on the.
And you made them
the
into
old-
cassettes.
I
Remember?
did. I made them into cassettes. There's only a few left, and they're impossible to ship, so I'm not going to advertise those right now. But yeah, we had 2 shows there, 2 sold out shows. We did, and then Lisa Buck said, "You're welcome to do this every year," and this is our 4th year doing it now. We've got
That's wild.
we've done so many of these concerts, and
Yeah.
it's been wonderful.
And you're headed there as we record this tomorrow for the 3-night stand.
Yep.
That's really exciting.
So it's been so fun, and not only has like that one like gig taken us like all over the world, but we've recorded albums together. We have an album coming out in April. We're recording an orchestra album in April. We've played Mark's arrangements of my songs in Finland and all over, like the US and Canada, and we've just been working together a lot. So I'm really glad that you were funny at that jazz jam.
It hasn't worn off yet, eh?
No, not quite yet. I mean, sometimes it's a little tiresome, but
I'm not surprised that you made an album the very first time you performed together, because I was going to say, you're so prolific as a duo. I'm amazed
Yeah.
that this relationship is only like 3 years old. That's incredible. And as you say, so much music is coming out. I mean, you're kind of almost like performing a lap on yourselves, like you're
Yeah.
releasing an album in April and recording the next album also in April.
Exactly.
You just put out this beautiful record, Caity, in August.
Thank you.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah.
Which is
Good, how are you?
stupendous. I'm great, thanks. It's funny, every time I hear that song, I'm reminded of your old pal, Kate Stevens, because that's
Yes.
often how she likes to begin her radio show.
She's the best.
Yeah,
I-
you guys went to junior high together.
We did. I've known Kate forever, like since I was like 12, 13, 14 or
That's
something.
amazing.
So like, I guess like over 10 years. It's crazy.
Did you used to sing together back in the day?
We weren't in the same year.
Oh, okay.
I was, I think, a couple years ahead, maybe.
Yeah.
And so I don't think we never sang together,
Yeah.
but she's wonderful. And I'm such a fan of her and her music
Yeah.
and her show.
She's an incredible broadcaster on CKUA and a
On
great
CKUA.
artist. I wonder what kind of music were you into back then in junior high?
Oh my goodness. I loved classic rock. I was really into like the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Pink Floyd,
Wow.
The Who, Fleetwood Mac.
No way.
And then also I was starting to get into a lot of Motown music at that time.
Oh, wow.
And that was what I was really into.
Yeah.
A lot of taste based on like my dad's CD and record collection.
Right, totally.
So-
Yeah. And then the jazz bug bit you a bit later.
When I was 17, yes.
Yeah.
I started seeing a jazz drummer and then fell in love with the music.
Yeah.
And I've been with the music ever since.
That's amazing to me. So you became obsessed with music,
Mhm.
and then the vessel, which would become, the place that you would inhabit musically, came much later.
Yeah.
And I mean, for somebody like me who just hit the half-century mark, like that was not that long ago that you discovered jazz, and here you are. You're already a 2-time JUNO Award winner for Vocal Jazz Album of the Year.
That's what they
You have
say.
all
Nobody
these
can take
records
those
under your
away from
belt.
me.
Yeah, no, exactly. They can't take that away from you. And that's an amazing journey for me.
Mhm.
Do you still feel like a very eclectic musical taste is part of your soul, or are you kind of like fully giving yourself over to jazz as a music listener these days as well? How about this? Is there something that you love that you're listening to a lot these days that might surprise fans of Caity Gyorgy that's in your wheelhouse?
Well, I think one of my top listened to albums this in 2024 was Leonard Bernstein conducting the Mahler symphonies.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
as recommended by you,
Oh, there you go.
but Mahler 5 and 6
Oh, yeah.
specifically.
The
were
Adagietto,
wonderful.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that
Yeah.
rules.
Yeah.
Nice one.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the movie yet, Leonard.
I liked it.
Yeah. I try to
I
stay
did
away
like it.
from music biopics because I'm always like, it's always wrong in my mind somehow. I don't know. Always feel disappointed.
I did like
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. Well, okay. And so that's a great music pick and movie recommendation. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Mark, what about you? Where did you come from musically? Like, when did classical and jazz hit you? And, what were your earliest musical steps?
I begged for violin lessons when I was 3
Yeah.
because a 3-year-old's an idiot. And I thought I could sound like Puccini, like the records, right?
Right.
And that was just torture. It was this isn't La Boheme. This is drag. This is terrible. Then I discovered that the piano, you pay somebody to tune it. And this was just, it was a revelation. So that's when I began piano around 5, 6-ish. And enough, screwing around here. So, although funny enough, I would say most of my closest friends are string players. So you can't really get rid of them.
You got some strings in there too. I mean,
Right,
let's be
exactly.
fair.
That's right. I'm just hitting them. Yeah.
With hammers.
With hammers.
Right.
Mark Limacher is a very violent person.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
Cut that. Yeah. Musically, though, no, I've always wanted to be a composer of some kind. That was all I ever wanted. And as that developed, I really wanted to be an arranger. But again, as a child, growing up around my grandparents, I grew up in a retirement community, basically. And so I thought it was 1970. And so the problem with that was the kind of arranging I thought I wanted to do had died out before I even shuffled onto this mortal coil. And so that was kind of a shattering experience. Oh, this will never happen for me. Until we met. And then the weirdest thing is I get to do that.
We're going to play, this next song is one that I had written in September of 2023, after Mark and I had recorded with a string orchestra in August of 2023. And that recording session was so much fun. And I was just so grateful to Mark for arranging these pieces for me. There were 3 of my original songs, and Mark had surprised me for my birthday by including 5 extra string players and a clarinetist on the session that I didn't know was going to happen, and it was wonderful. And so I was just like, I love working with this person. And so I wrote this song about working with you, and I was so nervous to show it to you. But I showed it to you when we were up in Whitehorse, Yukon, doing a bunch of workshops and concerts. And then I didn't have a bridge yet. And so we finished the song together. And so this is called That Doesn't Matter. Mark is very fancy. I'm less fancy. And you'll hear about that in this song. You drink out of crystal, I drink out of polyethylene. But that doesn't matter to you, to me. You write with a pencil, I write using mice and keys and screens. But that doesn't matter to you, to me. Either way, the drink is drunk. Either way, the words are written. Either way, the time is spent in thoughtful conversation. You speak with distinction, and I speak in unending hyperbole. But that doesn't matter to you, to me. Shoo-doo-boo, boo, ya-da-doo, wee. Sha-da-da-boo, ya-da-doo-da-doo-dee. Shoo-ya-doo-ba-bee-ya-doo-boo, woo-ba-ba-boo-ya-doo-ba-wee-oo. Ya-doo-ba-boo-bee-boo-boo-bim-bim-bee-doo. You drink out of crystal and I drink out of polyethylene, but that doesn't matter to you, to me. And you write with a pencil and I write using mice and keys and screens, but that doesn't matter to you, to me. Either way, the drink is drunk. Either way, the words are written. Either way, the time is spent in thoughtful conversation. You speak with distinction, and I speak in unending hyperbole. But that doesn't matter to you, to me, to you, to me. No, that doesn't matter to you or to me.
You know, I think in some ways you're kind of both coming from, complementary musical places, shall we say, and maybe there's a kind of new school, old school aesthetic that you both work from, and I really appreciate that a lot. It must be fun to explore the world together as a couple of buddies like this.
Yep.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty
Pretty
good.
good.
I'm curious too, speaking of, the taste for a certain kind of sense of vintage. Caity, what does your closet look like in Montreal? Because you have like a fabled collection of vintage gowns.
Oh, yes, I do. So it's interesting you use the word closet. My closet is mostly my like day-to-day clothing, which many of my pieces are vintage. The closet does not house the dress collection. The dress collection sits in the basement of my condo building in Montreal. That used to house drums and winter tires, but I no longer have a vehicle, and that's fine. I love to walk. It now has an industrial-sized clothing rack with quite a few garment bags and over probably close to 75 at this point vintage dresses.
Whoa.
That I keep in that. And every time I've got a gig, I take the elevator down to the lowest level of the parkade, and I take my key, I open up the door, I go to my little cage of a locker,
gown bunker.
and then I sift through to think, okay, what am I gonna wear? Like, okay, what's the weather like? What's the audience gonna be like? And I choose from my clothing cage. So it's not a closet, it's a cage.
Right.
But if anything's gonna be caged, it's gonna be those dresses.
Right, they're dangerous.
Yeah.
Which one is it going to be tonight?
Well, there's an intermission. So an intermission gives a chance to change outfits. And I've got so many of these dresses, and I'm pretty certain they're a tax write-off. At least nobody's called me on it quite yet, so I'm just going to keep going with that. So I've got, what am I wearing tonight? Oh, I'm wearing a nice blue one that's a very nice, like, 50s, like, poofy, like, princess. It's gorgeous. And then the second one I found at a thrift shop in Calgary for, like, $9.
Nice.
Got it dry cleaned, and it's white, and it's got like a whole bunch of layers. And I think that one's a 1970s piece. The other one is a 50s piece. So my style ranges from like 40s to 70s. 70s, very rare that I will take a 70s dress. 80s, not so much. But like 50s, 60s, that's my bag. And that is what is in most of the garment bags in the cage.
That's literally your bag. That's
Literally.
great. Do you guys have to coordinate outfits? Do you have a discussion at the hotel room? No? Just the chemistry
never done
happens
that.
that way too? That's great.
I think we only did that for the Junos. Right?
That's correct.
Where I was like, okay, this is what I'm wearing for Junos, and I don't know, just don't wear like neon green. I don't know.
Don't dress bad, please.
Please don't dress bad.
Yeah, right. Maybe shave that week and yeah.
That
I
week.
should be so lucky.
Speaking of the Junos, Caity, first time and last time I had a chance to talk to you in person real briefly was in the Q&A room, the press scrum where they wheeled you in after having just won your Juno across the street here at the convention center in Edmonton. And that was just such an amazing moment to get to witness from afar, and so many people in the community, so excited to watch your journey. And you had such lovely words to share too about where you come from and how, it really was the community and your high school in particular that really kind of set you on a path.
Yep. I went to Central Memorial High School in Calgary, Alberta, under the direction of Anne Gray, and she was the most phenomenal choir instructor, and I learned so much from her. I credit all of my breath support to her, and I get compliments on my breath support all the time. So thank you, Anne Gray, for that. And she was just the most exceptional choir director, and that was my favorite part of school. I had choir practice often like 3 times a day, like 7:30 a.m. to 9, and then you do your classes, and then in the afternoon, like 1:30 to 3 or something like that, and then after school until 5 p.m. I was in the concert choir, the chamber choir, the vocal jazz ensemble. I was taking advanced placement music theory. I was in a professional development for the arts course. And that's why I really enjoyed going to school, because once I realized, like, I want to do music and I'm going to apply for music school, the other subjects kind of seemed less exciting. Except I had a really fantastic chem teacher, Miss Kadura, and she made that really wonderful. And I love that. And also, math was fine, and all the other stuff. It was fine, but music was really why I really enjoyed going to school and being a part of the choir program at Central Memorial, which is a public school and is like publicly funded. And that is very, very important and needs to be mentioned that public education and arts programs, specifically in public institutions, are very important and create the next generation. It was just that's kind of what started me on this path. I love being surrounded by music every day, and I'm so glad that I was. Otherwise, I might have gone to school for business, and oh my God. I mean, business is great.
I mean, you're a business person now.
I absolutely am. If I had gone to school for that, I don't, yeah.
We don't need to finish that sentence. But I think it's really amazing that, as you say, those kinds of programs really nurture people's minds and souls and spirits. And occasionally you get a Caity Gyorgy out of it in your community too, who goes out there and slays on behalf of that part of the world. So I think that's a pretty good endorsement. And they can't take that away from you either. That's for sure.
No,
I'm really impressed at the way that you have sort of gone out, like right from the beginning. You pursued these degrees in music at Humber and McGill, and you're writing your music. You arrange a lot of it. Until recently, were booking all your own tours and doing the social medias and the you hand illustrated that beautiful lyric video last year.
Oh yeah,
which is incredible. I mean, you do all these
Thank
things
you
yourself.
for saying that.
Yeah, it's
that
gorgeous.
took me 60 hours.
What?
I binge watched all of the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel while I made that music video, because I drew everything and then I put it into Final Cut, and that was like, I was just glued to the computer for one entire week. I got up in the morning, I worked on the video, I went to sleep, I got up in the morning, and then I've got the video on my computer on Final Cut, and then I had an iPad or something, and I'm watching Mrs. Maisel on that. So I'm like, it was a really intense week, but I really like how that came out. Thank you so much for saying that, because that was a really real big labor of love. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That's how you get so much stuff done. You're literally doing 2 things at once. That's great. I was going to ask you how you have the energy for all this, but maybe I should ask Mark, how does Caity have all the energy what drives her, do you think?
That is a mystery. I only try to keep up with the energy, which I fail at. But no,
Coffee?
Is there any? Yeah. No. I've never met anybody with such a singular ability to remain focused and at 100%. As you are, and I'm not trying to flatter you. It's actually something I'm scared to death of.
As you should be.
Yeah. But no, really, it's both impressive and terrifying.
And she has a great time while she's doing it too, clearly.
Exactly. I mean,
That's
look
what
how
it looks
happy
like.
she is.
That's what
You
it
know,
looks
yeah.
like. That's the illusion.
Looks that way.
What do you guys, I mean, you just drove up the QE2 here, highway between Calgary and Edmonton. You're doing the usual circuit, Edmonton, Calgary, Tokyo.
Yep, as one does.
As
Yep.
you do. What do you have on in the old tour van or whatever vehicle you're traveling in? What's the soundtrack?
Well, after we do the 3 nights at the Cotton Club in Tokyo, we come back. I think we might have a New Year's gig. I'm not sure if I'm on that yet. We'll find out soon, hopefully.
Sure, I'm on it.
You're on it. Me, we don't know. January.
What are you doing New Year's Eve?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and one that I would really like to know the answer to, especially monetarily. But in January, we'll be in the U.S. for a bunch of shows. We're playing some of the big band material in Tucson, Arizona for the Tucson Jazz Festival, which will be great. We're also in Denver. February, we're in Mexico. We're doing a bunch of string quartet stuff in Mexico, which is going to be great, as well as I think we're doing some string quartet gigs in Ontario as well later in the season. And I think it's mostly U.S. touring right now
seems like
and
that.
Mexico, so North American things. But I have plans, and I've been scheming to get back to Europe because Finland was just so much fun.
Wow, it would be pretty hard to get into a rut with what the amount of different activities you guys have on the go. That's
there's
incredible.
always something.
We're so excited about all that you have created and all that is yet to come
Thank
in
you.
2025. It's
As
gonna
are
be-
we.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Well, Mark Limacher, Caity Gyorgy, what a joy. And I guess we're going to hear one more piece of work from your beautiful oeuvre together.
Perfect. I hope you enjoy it. Oh my goodness, can't speak. This is why I sing. I don't speak. But thank you very much for having us.
Thank you. Likewise.
If you'd had told me then what you'd said now, perhaps the fear that I felt, the rest of cards I've been dealt, would never convene. If I'd had known back then what I know now, perhaps the life that I've led, the thoughtless thoughts in my head, would never have been. Here we are amidst the years in question, hoping to catch up, to understand and make amends for what we could have done back then, if we knew how. Perhaps the words we kept in, the stifled laughter and grins, would have helped us to see that fate doesn't age, but people sure do. So don't just wait till you know. You probably already do. Mark Limacher, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you.